Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shower Thoughts. As 2023 comes to an end, it's time to reflect on all the new commanders that have been released this year. WotC has printed a staggering 393 new commanders this year alone, and I want to share my personal top 10. This isn't a list based purely on the power of the commander, but how much fun I've had playing with or against them. Make sure to check out my mid-year top 10 video in the card somewhere up here. And finally, let me know what your favorite commander of 2023 was. If you want more content like this, or just want to help out the channel, give this video a like. And without further ado, let's get into it. Now coming in at number 10 is Gimbal Gremlin Prodigy. I am sad to report that Gimbal dropped down to number 10. In the past few months, it has felt like the deck hasn't performed nearly as well as it used to. Now there are a ton of reasons why this is possible, from variants to just different matchups. But because of this, I am dropping Gimbal down 2 ranks. To be clear, the unique playstyle is still incredibly fun when it works, but when it doesn't, the deck just feels awful to play. I do plan on tweaking the deck with some new cards from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and I'm hoping with some small adjustments I can make the deck feel good even when it isn't performing at 100%. If you want a more in-depth look at this commander, check out my mid-year top 10 video. Some key budget cards to include would be Sentinel of the Nameless City, Dahili the Sun's Brilliance, Spyglass Siren, Threefold Thunderhulk, and Sarnath Greatworm. Coming in at number 9 is Davos Dalek Creator. Davos is from the new Doctor Who precons, and boy does he pack a punch. I think most people agree that the Grixis deck was a bit more unfocused compared to the other options, but when built in their own shell, they're an absolute powerhouse. There are still plenty of cards you'll want to include from the precon, such as Cult of Sakaro, who's a great commander in their own right, Dalek Squadron, and Cybermen Patrol. But I think my favorite part of Davos is that the deck isn't reliant on him to function. Yes, he is a powerful card advantage engine thanks to the tokens, the card draw, or your opponent's discarding cards, and it turns out that an army of menacing Daleks with a flick 3 can end the game pretty quick. So if you want to speed up your game nights, give Davos a try. Some key budget cards to include would be Cult of Sakaro, Dalek Drone, Dalek Squadron, Wound Reflection, and Missy. Coming in at number 8 is Kiora, Sovereign of the Deep. Now Kiora missed my original list, but I'm not making the same mistake this time. This is one of the commanders that I've played against more than with, but I still think they deserve a spot on this list. My friend built a pretty powerful list, while not budget, could be made into a budget deck pretty easily. You can find that deck linked in the video description below. She feels like the quintessential Simic commander, and you'll ramp into creatures and then turn them sideways. Much like Davos, if Kiora isn't in play, the deck still functions as a powerful Simic ramp deck. She is just a value engine in the command zone, which is perfect. But with 5 toughness and ward 3, she isn't easy to remove once she does hit the board. Some key budget cards to include would be Arixmethes' Slumbering Isle, Hullbreak Horror, Monstrosity of the Lake, Scourge of Fleets, and Goreclaw. Coming in at number 7 is Elevir of the Wild Court. Enchantress is an archetype that I've always loved in theory, but never quite loved actually playing. It could be the decks I've borrowed lacked a solid win condition or just didn't fit my playstyle. That was until I played Elevir of the Wild Court. The biggest issue with Aura commanders, in my experience, is that you only suit up one creature, and then the creature gets removed and the game's kinda over. But Elevir's ability wants you to go wide, not tall. Because you can't put a roll token on itself, and each creature can only have one roll token. So you're not gonna get away with just 1 or 2 big creatures. Instead, you want a ton of bodies you can put these rolls on, which helps them grow into massive threats since the auras buff each other. Some key budget cards to include would be Umbra Mystic, Ethereal Armor, All That Glitters, Sithis Harvest Hand, and Sanctum Weaver. Coming in at number 6 is Urtet, Remnant of Mnar. While Urtet might have been moved down a couple spots, it isn't for any fault of the deck. Everything I said in my previous video still holds true. In fact, the main pilot of the deck has gotten faster, and so the long turn issue has gotten better. However, other commanders on this list have just been more fun in my opinion. If you want a powerful and unique and pretty budget 5-color commander, Urtet is still my number 1 option for you. Most mirrors are pretty inexpensive, and despite this deck being 5 colors, most of the cards are colorless. And if you want some inspiration, you can check out my friend's list, also linked in the video description below. Some key budget cards to include would be Mirror Kinsmith, Brutaclad Telecore Engineer, Block of Omens, Thoughtcast, and Mirror Battlesphere. Coming in at number 5 is Froto Adventures Hobbit and Sam Loyal Attendant. Now this is a pair I had high hopes for, but I didn't have much exposure to when I was recording my previous video. But it's been a few months since they've been released, and I can safely say This is one of my all-time favorite food/life gain commanders. It could be that I love seeing a number go up like life totals, or the puzzle of figuring out how to remove a player with 100 life. Usually the answer is commander damage or sending them back to the Stone Age. The deck I've seen does run Aetherflux Reservoir, like most life gain decks should, but more often than not it's winning with combat damage thanks to Treeboard Gracious Host. And thanks to Wilds of Eldraine, we have Experimental Confectioner, which goes infinite with Peregrine Took. Check out Commander Spellbook link in the video description below to see how the combo works. Some key budget cards to include would be Peregrine Took, Tireless Provisioner, Mirkwood Bats, Bankwood Guest, and Prized Pig. Coming in at number 4 is Eowyn Shield Maiden. Now I am happy to say I did move a commander up from my prior rankings. She moved up to number 4 from number 5, and she has remained a mainstay in my deck rotation since her release and is still mostly a stock precon. I did make some changes, but only with Lord of the Rings cards, so it's fine. And everything I said back then still remains true today. She's a powerful token and card draw engine in the command zone, and while I did predict she'd break the top 3 at this point, there are a few new commanders that really shocked me with how fun they'd be. But being number 4 is still great, and hopefully she'll be staying in my rotation for years to come. Some key budget cards to include would be Lawson Arc Captain, Riders of Rohan, Eowyn the Fearless Knight, Increasing Devotion, and Horn of Gondor. Coming in at number 3 is Sir Ginger the Mealender. Now I started making Magic content because I love brewing decks. This is where my YouTube channel, Bathroom Brews MTG, got its name. And every so often there will be a commander that gets those juices flowing, and Sir Ginger was exactly that. A friend of mine actually bought the exact list for my $50 deck tech, which you should check out after watching this video, and it has crushed the table more than once. If you're looking for a fun colorless commander, I would highly recommend Sir Ginger for your next deck. Key budget cards to include would be Mere Retriever, Ichor Wellspring, Welding Jar, Candy Trail, and Ginger Brute. Coming in at number 2 is Pent Laza Sun Favored. Despite only being released a few weeks ago, Pent Laza has quickly become one of my all-time favorite Dino commanders. Cheating on mana is one of the most broken things you can do in Magic, and having this ability in the command zone is great. This is made even better since Discover is an ETB trigger, not a cast trigger. So if you can blink or cheat dinos into play on other players' turns, you can discover a whole bunch. The best way to do this, and the MVP in my deck, is Sneak Attack. It is a $5 card, so maybe not considered budget. However, sneaking in 3 extra dinos a turn cycle will often win you the game. Especially if you can cheat in Dinosaur Egg, and have it evolve a few times, giving you even more Discover triggers. Key budget cards to include would be Wayward Swordtooth, Sunfrill Imitator, Runic Armasaur, Pugnacious Hammerskull, and Cryptic Gateway. And coming in at number 1 is the 13th Doctor with Yasmin Khan. This one actually came as a shock to me. I wasn't paying attention to spoilers at all for this set, and was just waiting for the full deck lists. This is a pick based purely on playstyle. I know pretty much nothing about Doctor Who, and even pronounced Dalek wrong in my tier list video. I said Dalek. Oops. I found I can take pretty fast turns with this deck while taking a lot of game actions, so it feels like I'm popping off even if it's just casting 3 cards from exile. I did try some of the other partners with the 13th Doctor, but I'm trying to keep the deck as stock as possible, and Yasmin feels like the best out of the box. Some key budget cards to include would be Throes of Chaos, Lelia the Blade Reforged, Kami of Celebration, Baldorn Dreadwolf Herald, and Dance with Calamity. And that wraps up my top 10 commanders of 2023. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite commander of 2023 was, and what set you're looking forward to in 2024. Also, if you like this video, give it a like. If you disliked it, hit that dislike button. And if you want more MTG content, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Alrighty, see ya!